So welcome to the first episode of the Chrysalis for the Creative. Now today is a little bit special here. You know why? Because the tables are turned and I have the opportunity and the privilege of interviewing our host, Mess. And so without further ado, are you ready to get into it with me?
For sure. I have
Oh,
been ready. Your schedule has just been way too busy and way too difficult to work with.
well, things are going to change on that front. So I'm going to be available and ready to work with everybody. And this is just one of many things that I believe needs to come out. And today, what I'd like to do is to frame up for our audience that's listening why we're here and why this is important to have Mess be the person to cue us off. And the reason is this: we are a community of content creators who gather for the purpose of sharing our gifts with the world. And how do you do that? You have to have a supportive community of support in order to do that. And so one of the things that we like to do on this platform is to really find out truly who a person is and the things they want to contribute to the world. And so we can't start this community of creatives off without getting to know a little bit more about Miss. And so the first question I have for you today is, how did you become a content creator? And so I want to know, the audience
How
wants to
did
know.
I?
They want to
That's a
know.
long time ago. That's a very long time ago. Um, well, actually, it's longer than the first thought. It goes all the way back to like the start of YouTube. I remember me and my friend, we must have been like 10, 11. So this is like 13 years ago, easily, if not a little more than that. And we were just making videos while we were playing like PlayStation games and recording on our phones, like all bad videos, but all the way back there. And that was his idea. And I think from there, I took a little bit of a liking to it. I liked the whole thing of like creating, as most people do, which is why we have made this entire podcast, like for showcasing the creative and the different like ways you can go about being a creative. And then, well, what happened after that? I started posting. Then I started posting again. Like this is like I must have been 16 at this point, like seventh, eighth grade. No, 16, like 14. So it's still a long time ago. Got away from it again. Started posting again on YouTube, and then since I started posting like last time, I haven't been making YouTube videos all that often. I'm not following time, but I've been keeping on creating content, which the last couple of times that I just took a straight up break. I didn't do it. But like this time I've taken on different ways of doing it, like creating text posts, creating text posts for pictures, audio content like a podcast, and then also like videos, and just seeing which ones I like best. And currently just videos and audio, because that's what I really enjoy in content. Should be something you really enjoy. Otherwise, you're able to make good content, but it's hard to be consistent making good content in a format you don't like. You should change your format to something that you like. So why I started creating content? Well, just coincidence, really, I think.
Thank you for letting us know that the reason why you're a content creator is because you took something in your childhood, which was that whole looking at the different types of videos, and then you took it to like, oh, this could be me. I could go try it out. And so you took your love of what you saw and you thought about, how can I fit into this role? What can I do to contribute? And how do I like to do it? And I like what you said, where you can't create content in a format that you don't like. That's true. But the only way you're going to know whether or not you like that format is to actually try it, because how somebody else puts the format to use and how you put it to use can be completely different. And so it's that whole process where you really get in touch and intentional with who you are and what you want to bring as your contribution, and then just trying it out until you get that sweet space where you feel good creating the content. It comes and flows effortlessly out. And then you put it out there and people grab onto it and enjoy it. You know, they let you know what they like, what they don't like, and you figure out from the preferences of where you want to go with that. And so it's my thought or my belief that how you're able to be a creator lies in knowing yourself. And you also have to do one other thing, right? You have to have some beliefs that you live by. And so I want to hear from you. What are 3 core beliefs that you live by that help you step into who you are and allow you to be that content creator that you want to be?
Well, two come quite easily to me. And I think the first one is definitely like loyalty. Like loyalty means a lot to me. Like if a person, I don't mind like giving and being, what's the word for that? I can't remember. Yeah. I can say the Danish word, but for some reason, the English word completely just escaped my mind. But giving, I don't mind giving. And I think what really shows you a good picture of another person is how they react to you giving. And both in, are they grateful, but also when you come back and maybe ask them for something, do they make a fuss about it, or are they also kind to you? I think that's a very important thing, having that loyalty, and that's like showcasing that, because you don't need that many people around you. You need the right people around you. Secondly, I think it's fairness, and I would say this is more in some sort of work, because feeling treated unfairly, even if it's work or not work, that's a bad feeling. Sucks. And me seeing like things need to be fair. Like if people are not treated fairly, that I can't deal with that. Like it's in some sort of way that's really about allowing everybody their space. And then respect, I think, is really the last one. These are quite generic in some sort of way, but I like to keep it simple, and just have some simple but strong beliefs. Like show other people respect in the same way, like you want them to respect you. Kind of, they're all tied together in some sort of way. Go ahead.
Yeah, I really like what you put on that, because you said that I like to give, and that's something that's good to you. But then, you know, you want to have that loyalty, that reciprocity. And so if you're giving, you really want another person to, you know, step up and do the same. And one of the ways that you have that loyalty, that reciprocity in the relationship, is the fact that you have respect for another person, right? And so, you know, when someone's giving, it's respectful that you also do the same, right? And so you're right, the 3 of those tie together in a way that allows that to happen. And so I love those 3 that you shared, and I share some of those ones as well. And I believe that, you know, all humans to some level can engage with what you just had said there.
Well, I hope so.
Yes, we definitely hope so. We definitely want there to be, you know, loyalty and respect in any of the relationships that we have. That's important to have. And so that really brings me to my next question. And it's this. So it's more than just being in a community of people exchanging, right? It's about what it is that you personally want to contribute. And so when you're looking to join a community to share your gifts, what is it that you're looking for in that community? And what is it that nobody can stop you from bringing and contributing this one thing or a few things?
Well, in this specific community, Krisullis, right now it's pretty clear in how I contribute. In the way I see it, I help other creatives share their knowledge and share their visions by putting them on, like having them being interviewed in this podcast. I think both Randy and Marcus I know this is the first episode, but I have done a few before this. That was their first podcast asked what I understood. So it's really about having creatives come on here and showcase them, and just help other people see the possibilities of being a creator. And most people, I remember the first time like done podcasts, stuff like that, especially the first live, I was sitting there like, nah. Because at the end of the day with a podcast, it's like you can just not post it. The same with a video, you can just not choose to post it. It sucks, don't post it. If for some reason, even though sometimes things sucks, as me and Linda have experienced, post it anyway because it ends up gonna be the best thing you ever fucking did. Just explodes. So in most cases, do post it if it's just like small things. But if there's a bigger reason for it, that you can choose not to. So the risk is not to take. But the first live, I was there like, oh, I was not having a fun time the entire time. I don't think people picked up on it, but even sometimes when I interview people I never spoke to before, I don't know nothing about them. They're like, oh fuck, because they might be a complete asshole. They might be. I would be sitting there like, no, this was a fucking mistake. That feeling of nervousness because of that still comes up, but it really shows them it's not that bad. Like most people, they actually have fun. Like 99% of the time when you're gonna jump on a podcast, and I think especially a podcast because it is really just having a conversation. You're gonna have fun. Just a nice chat. Most people enjoy that. If you don't, well, don't come on a podcast. But if you do, I would strongly encourage anybody to jump on a podcast.
Thank you so much for sharing that, because I'm sitting here laughing in my mind about that time that you talked about doing your first live. And to be honest, I had this similar experience doing lives. I like, it's one thing to record. It's one thing, you can choose to put it out to the world or not. But when you're live, it's there for all to see. And it also, on many platforms, becomes a recording. So there isn't any do-over. But you know what I learned from doing those lives that I want people to think about is it gives you an opportunity to really go through some growth. And that's this, you are able to learn to think on your feet. You can have your personality come to the space. And you know what? The best podcasts, the best lives are the ones where people authentically come in. They're not trying to be somebody else. They're not going for perfection. What they're going for is connection. That's what they're going for, and they don't need a bunch of scripts. I used to write all these scripts. I used to read everything out, and people will be like, Linda, what the heck are you doing? That's not who you are. I want fun, entertaining Linda that just comes and her heart comes out and you're in passion and get excited. That's what I want to see. I don't want to see something written. Sure, it can rhyme. It can be using all of these flashy words, but honestly, at the end of the day, I had to learn that I could be in my space, be who I am, and have fun with it. When I did that, that's how I was able to engage and connect with my audience, was by being authentic to who I am and just going with the flow of just being, just go and have a good time. And I share that with so many people that create content that, I understand that desire or wanting to write a script, to wanting to sound rehearsed, to wanting to sound, intelligent. But honestly, you're not going to get to where you want as quick as if you just turn on the camera, you go do that live. You do a little bit of planning to get there, right? You think about what it is that you want to make for your 3 to 5 points, and you make sure that you leave a powerful invitation for people to come back, and if they liked what they saw and come engage, that's really what you're doing. And we put so much pressure on ourselves to have to already know how to do it. And we don't want to put ourselves out there until it's totally polished. And when we do that, we sell ourselves short. Because when you go out there and try something for the very first time and you don't put so much pressure on it being that perfect entrance to that perfect delivery, the content that you produce is so much stronger and better. And then you know what you do, you open up the stage or the place for other people to go do it too. And so in my mind, Krisullis is that space where it can be a safe environment. People are supportive and wanting to see you grow. And you can go out there and just do something and then find out, like you said, Mess, a little bit earlier, is you can find out the formats that you like and don't like. Because, you know, for me, as much as I didn't like the thought of going live and not having the ability to reset and redo, it by far is the best format for me because I don't overthink it.
You can't.
You can't. And that's
Well,
okay. I got through that.
I think it's for a person like you, the best thing is to go live. But in general, it's just all about just doing. Like if you're able just to 30 minutes, write the script for the video, and no matter how bad the script is or how good it is, you just do the video. How you learn, you need to actually go in and practice whatever craft you want to practice. A live is great because that's both going to prepare you for doing lives, videos, and podcasts, because that teaches you the most important thing is like to think on your feet. But what really taught me that was just doing video and video and video and video and video and more fucking videos. And at some point, you're just gonna turn up with the camera, or at least it's gonna be like the camera is not there.
That's it. And I think about what they tell kids when they play sports, and they're wanting the pitcher and the catcher to be able to work together as a united team. And being a pitcher, all eyes are on you when you're in that game, and your role is to throw strikes, and you have to do it accurately in order to make it happen. And so a lot of times they tell the catcher, you know, just be there with the pitcher and allow them to just pitch it into the glove. They're going to pitch it into the glove so that the strikes will come. And when the kids put that mindset on, I think there's so much more powerful in their presence and what they can deliver when they just remember they're playing a game of catch in the backyard and not on the field in this important game where they need to strike everybody out to not have their runs come in.
Yeah, I think I played a game similar to that like once. We don't play stuff like that over here.
Notice I didn't talk about football because half the world calls it soccer and so forth.
That's true. That's true.
Yes. So given that we know what your beliefs are, we know what you're looking for a community and how you want to contribute, what is it that you personally, Mess, want to accomplish in Krisullis? And why is it important that you're going to do this now? I mean, you could do it 10 years from now, but why now?
Let's split it up to, because as you have mentioned before, and I know you talk a lot about this, is there's the joy of creating and then there's the joy of getting paid for creating. So let's take the non-financial reasons first. Firstly, it was just a project that really spoke to me when Caroline laid it out for me of helping people getting educated through actually doing something, being employed and learning by actually doing, because that's how I learned best myself and how I've been learning my entire life. So that really spoke to me. Those internships, training positions, if it's paid or not paid, doesn't matter. Here in Denmark, we have a bunch of paid opportunities, but from speaking to people all around the world, most countries don't have those lines of education, at least not as fulfilled that we have over here in Denmark. And because of that, has worked so well for me. And I do believe this, for some people at least for like a third of the population, it's the best way of learning. And we don't really have that opportunity. And also, school is just a program that is made to fit everybody and therefore really fits nobody. It's the same as marketing. If you try and make an ad like that speaks to everybody, it's really going to end up speaking to nobody. You need to be as specific as possible, and school doesn't really do that. So those two reasons really why I wanted to join Krisullis, because it was able to change and help evolve our current education system and help it evolve into something better, more specific, and therefore it's going to help people learn a lot more. And also in a way that I really like learning, the way that really speaks to me when it comes to learning. And because of that, I think I'm able to contribute a whole bunch, because I'm able to look at myself, see what would I need in this situation, and implement it in that way, because that's really how I see Krisullis is doing learning. Secondly, the financial thing. Well, this whole crypto thing, blockchain, Web3 really excites me. And I do believe it's going to be big. And if it's going to be big, I would rather be in early than be in late. I remember seeing Bitcoin at $300 each. Now they're like 50, 60K. I don't want that feeling again.
You really put the perspective in a really good space here, because you spoke to two things. And so you said the traditional educational system may not be as accessible for everyone. And even if it is, it doesn't really create the space where you could go in and try different things and really get in and learn it, because it's catered and geared towards everyone, which is not specific to the person. So in Krisullis, there is I guess, a direction to focus on the person's individual development, and putting people in a space where they can do that's really important, because you hit it in a space that I really admire, and that's the whole, in some countries or some places, it's not as accessible. Education is for the haves, and if you don't have the money or resources available to you, you're not going to have access to the same thing as everyone else. And so that's what Krisullis does. It has an ease of entry that you can come in and be onboarded and be able to take that creative thing that you do and have somebody on a team guide you through the process of what it takes to launch your content, to get a loyal following. And then, the last thing you said is, there's a lot of things that we learn how to do and they're unpaid. Well, this is an opportunity where you can learn and get paid for doing what you love and have that support and guidance to get there. And that's huge, because everyone wants to get paid for doing what they love, and they don't always see it as something that's easy and accessible. And so we want to help people build the skill sets that they need, because we already know they have a capability and a willingness to do it, but they also going to need those skill sets. So they're going to get help doing that. And through this platform, we have a lot of people that have contributions to share, that when we all work together collectively, we get closer to that ideal that everyone has access to learning and to picking up a skill, and then being actually able to either put it out there and get those loyal followings and make the money that can get paid. But then there's another thing that happens. And I heard you say it, and that's the whole, when we have a craft that we put out to the world, what we want to do is we want to have other people also that are interested in learning that thing, learn from us. And so you get really good at what you do the moment you teach somebody else how to do it. And so I think that's really huge. And that's one of the reasons why I'm involved with Krisullis, because I see the value in partnering and being surrounded with people that can contribute their gifts and teach you, and then you can do the same for them. So it's that whole reciprocity that you were speaking to earlier. When you give, then you also can be and should be on the receiving end, because it's not all about giving everything away. It's about giving and receiving, to have that nice balance. And so
Exactly.
And so I'm going to ask you something that I like to ask all of our guests. And I think
all about you like to ask all about you like to ask all of my guests.
Yes, I like to ask all of your guests. If you were given, just stay with me here, Miss. So
I'm here.
if you were,
It's just Funny. That's funny.
If you were given a space on a billboard and you could share a message, any message of your liking, what would you want it to say?
I do think I know what I wanted to say, but there's so many good options. There's so many good options. Um, just a random fucking billboard.
Yeah, just, I mean, I know there's lots
Well,
of
then
options, but
just looking behind me here. There's a bunch of good quotes here. I could just take one of them.
okay.
I think this is a really good one by Lao Tzu. I probably butchered that name completely. The longest journey starts with a single step. I really like that one, and I think it's going to speak to most people. The other one I really do like. That's poor people do what's easy and their life is hard. Rich people do what's hard and their life is easy. But I think most people is going to be like, I can start complaining about that one. I think this one is going to be more work better with the masses and going to inspire more people on the billboard.
That's exactly when you had read that, when you talk about taking that one step in that journey. So it's getting started, and one by one, you put one foot in front of the other, you travel, and that's how you get to achieving growth and great things. Because if you're not putting one step ahead of the other, one step at a time, and you don't really like live into that, then you're going to be stuck. You're not going to go anywhere. You're not going to have any change, and you're going to be left behind. And the reason why I'm saying all these things, because you also spoke to another thing that I was picking up on, and the fact that technology is always rapidly changing. And you said it's really exciting to be on the beginning edge of that journey. And so rather than waiting to know everything there is to know about a new technology, what better way is there to just take that first step and start to learn about it, and then see where the journey takes you, and then you're going along with the change. The change isn't being done to you. You haven't missed out. You're going with it. And so I really love that you shared that quote as something to inspire people to taking action.
Yes, it's really exciting, this whole project. I think having Neuro integrated into it makes it even more exciting. And it's definitely opened my eyes a lot to the possibility of crypto. I knew there was not places I was looking, and there were not some things I didn't know, and there still are. But now I've definitely seen some new opportunities, and just makes it more and more exciting. The world is going to be changing a whole lot in the next 10 years.
Absolutely. And wouldn't it be a really great space to be in Krisullis? And we're learning and growing together, regardless of our backgrounds, regardless of where we live, regardless of our education. We're just getting in there, and we can move together fluidly and really come out in this space where we're recognizing and receiving opportunities, and then inviting others to do the same.
Exactly. And it's a joy. It's a joy having new people on the podcast. Me and you have been doing it for ages, but it's exciting to talk to new people, get new perspectives. Because sometimes when you say something, I'm like, I heard this one before, and you probably have the exact same thing with me, which is why I asked specifically Linda to interview me, because she does know me the best, and I don't think I'm not a part of it. I think it would be hard to get anybody else to do it, actually. Didn't really have any choice, did I?
No, you didn't. So you can see from when you're listening and viewing our podcast today, that both Mess and I are very passionate about learning, very passionate about sharing our perspectives, but then we also want to hear other people's perspectives. Because
That's
honestly,
funny you say that.
there are times where Mess changes my perspective, and he's probably not going to admit to this, but there's times I'm sure that I might have changed his. But sometimes, you know what? We don't agree.
Probably is.
And it doesn't matter that we don't agree, because it's our own perspective and how we see the world. And we're okay with that because we have respect for one another, and whatever perspectives come up or don't come up for each of us.
Exactly. And I need to plug our old podcast. I don't know if it's going to be an old or a new podcast. Might be a new podcast at one point, two perspectives. This is why I thought it's the first another person have mentioned perspectives on this podcast. Of course, it's the first fucking episode. Genius. But also the next couple of episodes is also going to be the first time or the only time.
And so what Mess is saying here,
I'm just starting becoming silly at this point. I don't know why.
no, that's okay. I mean, honestly, Mess, that's the reason why there was that vision for calling it the two perspectives, because that's why we came together. We came together to share our journeys and the perspectives. And we found that people really resonated with the whole idea of thinking what could be out there. And there's times when people like, wow, you gave me a perspective that I never ever would have thought about had you not shared it. And that's why we did it. And and that's why there's a place for that platform in the Krisullis platform, because it was the sounding board, that place that we felt safe and respectful of one another, that we were able to even like navigate that terrain, to find out what it would be like to launch a podcast, to produce content, and to invite people in to come share the space with us. And so that's, was our launching space that prepared us for what we're going to do now, which is to continue that journey with all of these creatives out there.
Hopefully, if anybody else besides outside Krisullis wants to be a guest, otherwise it's going to be a short-lived podcast. Yeah. If you want, I'm not even going to do that. Yeah, actually, that's going to be an interesting part of the podcast, because at some point it has to change. That's what's different about this compared to the two perspectives. The two perspectives are just going to be me and you. We couldn't find a guest. Now we'll just jump on you and me. This time it's actually because I can't solo do a podcast. You probably found out why in this episode. It's going to turn into silliness. If Linda wasn't here to control me, it would be silliness already. I need another person to control the silliness. And here I can't just reach out to Linda because it's not the two perspectives. Probably going to be a guest multiple times, but still not the only guest. So it's different in the way of actually going out and inviting guests, which in some sort of way, even though I've done a podcast with Linda and I kind of have done it before, it's in some sort of way still uncomfortable because it's way more reliant on it. Before, it was just a nice thing to have. And I think that's a nice thing by going outside and doing something different, doing something new, even though you have enjoyed what you did before. Sometimes it's just about refreshing, because you need to rethink the way you're doing things to make it more beneficial for yourself, and you're able to reach more people if it's content creating you're wanting to do. And that's what this entire podcast is about. So I thought it would be most relevant thing to speak on. And just I know everybody, you hear a lot of YouTubers say, the views, the likes don't matter. Yes, it fucking does. Otherwise you wouldn't be posting your shit.
Yeah, there's a purpose behind it. I mean, the purpose behind it is why you do it, and it needs to extend beyond us. It needs to extend to the community at large. Who are we helping, shape That's why we do it. We do it because we want to create that space. We enjoy being that space where people can, if they haven't done a podcast before, they haven't been a guest, that they could come in, knowing that we have a set of questions. You want to know about them, and they can come in, and then they can get confident, like, oh yeah, I can do that. I can come in and answer questions. I can share about, who I am and what I have to contribute. And so, people a lot of times think that creatives have everything all together before they go out in the world. But you know what? People forget the backstory, that they were just like the things that we had talked about, the nervousness, the wondering if I'm good enough, practicing what modalities work and which ones don't. All of the musicians and artists, politicians, educators, all the different people out in the world doing these things, most of them didn't just wake up one day and go out and do it in perfection. No, they went through a lot of trial and error to get to where they were. But the one thing that sets them apart from everybody else there are two things. They chose one day to get started. And then the second thing is they chose not to give up. They chose to keep moving forward until things happened.
Yeah, and that's why, because I like to procrastinate. I really do procrastinate a lot, and this is going to be the longest episode of this entire podcast for forward. For me, the way I started this whole project of was just right. I think I had 5 questions written down, not even very good questions, to be quite frank, and then just tried to interview the first person. Works, doesn't work, what worked, what didn't work, change it up, next person, same process. And that's just how I learn, as I spoke about before. It's all about doing. For me, it's all about, before I want to start preparing the journey and start like planning what I want to do with a certain thing or where I want to go, it's important for me to get the data on where I am in that process. Because sometimes, let's say I haven't done podcasting for a year, come back to it. At some point, I might become a lot better. And at other things, I probably have become a lot worse because I'm a bit rusty. But knowing that's just rusty, okay, that's quick. But these other areas, how can I use those new perspectives, those new inspirations or aha moments I've had? How can I integrate them and make this even better this time? Have a different approach, different way of attacking.
I'm glad you shared that, because that is true. When we haven't done something for a while, there's the good in that. And that's what you just described, was the fact that there might be a few things that you're rusty at the moment, that you were at a different space, but you can get there. So it doesn't matter that you're rusty, because you've already had an experience that you can take it once you get back in and work with it. And then the second thing is that whole being able to take that second run, that reset where you're at, you can actually come in at a higher, better place going forward, even though you took that time off to regroup and reset. Or maybe in the case that you had said, which we're all guilty of it, is we procrastinated. So we got rusty. Well, you know what? Maybe during that time that you were away from the production of your creative thing that you do, you're able to have some reflection, like you had mentioned, on where you were, what was working well, what wasn't working so well, and where you could improve. Well, anybody knows that to make anything good, you got to go through that cycle of, you're doing really well, you're moving things forward. Okay, you need to take a little break, look at where you've gone, celebrate, look at where you could improve, find the skill sets or access to the people that can give you the skill sets to take that thing that you want to improve and go do it. And really, that's the learning cycle. And it's not always linear. Sometimes you're going to move 10 steps forward to move, and then you feel like you're moving, behind 25. You're always going to be in the up and down stage as you're progressing. But the one constant is if you keep moving, you're going to make changes, you're going to make progress. And so the best thing that you can do is just to, like you said in the quote, to put one foot in front of the other and keep going. And so Mess and I have talked a lot about being in that safe space where you can do this. And so that's why the two of us are excited about Krisullis. And I'm really looking forward to what kind of questions Mess is going to ask me when he comes to do my interview, because I don't know what he's going to ask me that he hasn't asked me yet, but I challenge him to think of something that he really wants to know and hasn't asked me yet, to really get my answer.
Some of the things I do know, but the audience don't know.
That's true. You can bring those out. We all know that Mess loves to put me into the hot seat and put out to the world the things that people don't know about me, because he believes that they should. And so he knows that if I think about it too long.
Well, I'm going to have some unique questions for you.
I bet you will, and I challenge you to do that.
The longer you wait, the more unique the questions is going to be.
And you're not going to share with me in advance. I'm just going to come in and I'm going to be on the spot, and I'm going to demonstrate what I talked about today. I'm going to pretend we're in a live situation, and you're just going to go with what you have, and I'm going to come with the answers.
Well, and nobody has really gotten time to prepare. So I think I might even have to come up with some more difficult questions for you. Now that you're challenging me, I might just have to.
I'm looking forward to it. So this is a wrap for today's episode. So you heard it from Mess. We are going to embody our beliefs, and he is going to challenge me with some questions so that everyone can get to know what he already sees. So our audience will know what contributions that I'm making. And he's not going to, like you said, I'm going to be in the same playing space as everyone else. I don't have access to the questions in advance. And so you're going to get the real authentic, raw answers as they surface for me. And just know that's what our community, that's what we build on. We build on being real people, doing real things, and we do it in real time.
Practice makes perfect. And make sure to, since Linda won't say it apparently, click the follow button, subscribe button, wherever it is, somewhere. I don't know yet.